So Deconstructionism theory began in the 1960s by the French philosopher Jacques Derrida. It questions the fundamental conceptual distinctions or oppositions in Western philosophy through a close examination of the language and logical philosophical, and literary text. Jacques Derrida opposed the metaphysics of presence, the claim in literature or philosophy that we can find some full, rich meaning outside of or prior to language itself. And in the 1980s, it was designated more loosely a range of radical theoretical enterprises in diverse areas of the humanities and social sciences, including in addition to philosophy and literature. But in the late 20th century, deconstruction was sometimes used pejoratively to suggest nihilism and frivolous skepticism. But in a popular usage, the term has come to mean a critical dismantling of tradition and traditional modes of thought. Deconstruction's reception was followed by its intellectual predecessors, most notably structuralism and new criticism. Deconstruction offered a powerful critique of the possibility of creating detached scientific meta-languages and was thus categorized as post-structuralist. Generally examined, the individual work not as a self-contained artifact but as a product of relations with other texts or discourses, literary and non-literary. These readings place special emphasis on the ways in which the work themselves offered implicit critiques of the categories that critics use to analyze them. The most important part of deconstructionism is the use of binary oppositions to look at what it is not in the story and takes away from the text because you are looking for what's not there. The signified and the signifier are unstable and can take on multiple meanings. Derrida derived this method because by deconstructing constraints, he tried to open new ways of thinking and knowing. It posits undecidability of meaning for all texts because the critique doesn't undermine the text already dismantles itself. Deconstructive critics focus on the text like the formalists. They view the decentering of text and point out incompatibilities, rhetorical grain against grain, contradictions, undecidability within text. In her book, The Critical Difference, 1981, Barbara Johnson clarifies the term. Deconstruction is not synonymous with destruction. However, it is in fact much closer to the original meaning of the word analysis itself, which etymologically means to undo, a virtual synonym for to deconstruct. If anything is destroyed in a deconstructive reading, it is not the text, but the claim to unequivocal domination of one mode of signifying over another. Perhaps deconstruction is best be described as a theory of reading which aims to undermine the logic of opposition within text. So that's according to Blackwell, 1996. Okay, so for the landmark piece of literature, I have here three examples. The two were came from research, and the last one I downloaded it from YouTube. So to give you a concrete example of how are we going to use deconstructionism in analyzing literature. Okay, so for the first example, I have here a poem entitled Snow by Frederick Seidel. Snow is what it does. It falls and it stays and it goes. It melts and it's here somewhere. We all will get there. So look at symbolism of snow to extract the opposite. We have white, cold, and winter, usually symbolizing death, so the opposite could be life. This poem then could be talking about the rebirth of humans in religion. For the second example, I have here again a poem entitled Six Lines for Louise Bogan by Michael Collier. All that has tamed me, I have learned to love, and lost that wildness that once beloved. All that was love, I've learned to tame, and lost the beloved that once was wild. All that is wild is tamed by life, and the beloved that once was loved. This poem almost deconstructs itself. Notice that there are two parts to each sentence, making four in each line. This poem tells of each opposite in itself. We have tamed, love, wildness, and beloved. So for the third example, I use the most popular fairy tale, which is Cinderella.
Girl who was tormented by her stepsisters and mom, and at the end somehow she was able to find her Prince Charming and live happily ever after? This story is also known as Cinderella, if you didn't know. It's really typical that she gets what she wants, but is she really a good person? She, as in Cinderella, think about it. Maybe she is not who you think she really is. Maybe Cinderella is more than just a girl who lost her father and was stuck with three evil people, aka the stepsisters and mom. Hard to believe? Well, let's break it down.
Alright, here we go. At the beginning of the movie, we find out that Cinderella's dad is dead. The only person who she ever had a close relationship with was now gone. Throughout the entire story, not only is she in a constant search for someone to love to replace the empty space that was left behind from her father, but she's also stuck at home with three other people who all hate her. Anyone could see that this would have a devastating effect on any child's emotional stability. Cinderella went through a phase of depression where she tried to keep quiet while plotting her revenge on her two stepsisters and mother. The perfect occasion came when the ball took place. Cinderella knew that both of her stepsisters wanted to get together with Prince Charming. Knowing that she was naturally more beautiful than her sisters, she purposely plotted to go to the ball dance to meet Prince Charming and try to woo him before her sisters could. Before midnight struck, Cinderella knew that she was running out of time. So as a part of her plan of revenge, she left her shoe on the stairs. So if you think about it, it doesn't take more than a couple of seconds to just turn back to pick up a shoe. So she obviously pre-planned to leave her shoe there for Prince Charming to come search for her later. On the day when Prince Charming came for shoe fittings, Cinderella confidently tried on the shoe knowing that it would fit. In the end, her plan for revenge worked out perfectly. So now, is Cinderella still the same sweet and innocent little princess you thought she was?
Of course, not all theories are perfect. They have their own criticisms and weaknesses. So, for the last portion of my topic, let me present to you the weaknesses and criticisms of the theory of deconstructionism. So, for the first criticism from Gayatri Spivak, one consequence of deconstruction then is that a theory's criticism of a given system is limited in that it is always dependent upon the prevailing terms of that system. Another criticism by Spivak again points toward deconstruction's limitation in conceptualizing and sustaining an engagement with the politics of domination. Since deconstruction involves the infinite displacement of hierarchical binary oppositions, and to present the third criticism from John Searle, according to him, since deference with an E and deference with an A are distinguishable, in other words, since deference with an A adheres only in writing and not in speech, Derrida's deconstructive project seeks to reverse the metaphysical presumption that speech, an indicator of presence or being, precedes the written word that approximates it.